I like, click, and subscribe, do all that. You know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called How I Became a Superhero. In a world where humans and superheroes coexist, a lone wolf cop teams up with a bright detective to dismantle a dark plot to extract superpowers. So it's a French sci-fi movie just came out. It's about an hour 41 minutes long. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So we got this random guy coming from the club. Somebody's up shocking him from behind and putting him to sleep. Next thing you know, he's in some type of lab. And then somebody next to him looking all messed up like somebody drained his power or something. Then we get to this cop named Monroe. He's watching all these commercials about people with superpowers. So apparently this is one of those superpower towns. Yeah, you know, where some people have superpowers and some people don't. So they get to this crime scene. He's there late. He gets there and he's talking to this lady named Izzy. Pretty much discards her throughout the case, then talks to this cop. So apparently this nightclub burnt down. He gets back to the office and come to find out from his boss, the girl Izzy is dismissed earlier as a lieutenant and they're going to be working together. It's one of those things where the guy's never had a partner and all this other stuff and they got to work together, blah, blah, blah. He's been getting berated by his boss for the last 15 years, all this shit. But the boss ain't trying to hear none of that shit. Y'all working together and that's that. As he's in the locker room, he gets a flashback to a superhero he knew that got killed in action. So that kind of explains his disposition. So Izzy lets them know they got a disturbance from a high school or whatever, and they got a call, they gotta go get it. Turns out somebody's burning up shit in a high school. See this one chick hiding? Her name is Lily. Now Lily has powers of her own. She has some type of lightning powers. And while this guy was hiding, he could see what was going on. He looked concerned. See, I think the thing is she could shoot beams out of her eyes or some shit like that. Well, anyway, they investigate the school and see all the commotion going on outside. Cops try to figure out what to do, but Morrow's already down there taking action. Apparently, this one kid's got fire powers all of a sudden. He talks him down and the cops apprehend him. They got some information about the kid. Apparently, there's more than one person with these fire powers. Izzy ends up dropping off Morrow at some spot. And she's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? He's like, be creative, do some cop stuff. So clearly, they're not on the same page. Meanwhile, we got this kid selling a bunch of these light things, selling it to this random dude. It turns out you sniff this stuff in and you get fire powers. So basically, it's more like a drug than anything. Reminds me of that movie Project Power with Jamie Foxx and shit. Well, basically, if anybody get their hands on this stuff, we gotta find out who the supplier is. Then Maury heads over to this other spot where he's taking care of this old grandpa. Come to find out he has the power to teleport, but he can't teleport far. So apparently he was part of a group called the Pack Royal Reunited. The guy that showed dead earlier was in the middle of the group. And this chick looked like some Halle Berry Catwoman shit. So then we get a flashback to when Moreau was trying to get an arrest on somebody, and he ended up meeting the Pack Royal. Later on, we found out the kid that was looking at Lily works with this guy named Chassis, and he's a bad man. Turns out he's the man that's been selling all these superpower drugs on the streets. But what's his motive behind selling people superpowers? The tension still building between Maury and Izzy. Then we got this chick, Nikki, that teaches an all men and women's basketball team. After practice is over, she's looking at this one dude. And when her pupils get smaller, she can actually see the future. Or the past based on whoever she's looking at. She knows he's in trouble, but he ain't no snitch. He gotta get this money and help his family. Then Murray comes in and sees he gets some information. Izzy can't get it because the people fucking with her. More tension between the two. Then they go to forensics and find out about some guy named Basario that got killed. Come to find out some of these superpower drugs are defective. They work for a while, but eventually they eat you up on the inside out. In Basario's particular case, he ended up burning to death. Then they start grilling random people for information. This chick talks about she hasn't even had sex with regular people, it's only for people with superpowers. I'm like, pfft. She with the magic stick on some 50-cent shit. Honestly, they're basically getting nowhere with these people. Lily's in the library by herself, and this guy finally comes up and sparks a conversation. He spits that fire, she thinks he's cool, and he gives her the number like, yeah, it was good. Then he lets this random guy loose, tells him, hey, stop stealing booze. And this motherfucker can walk through goddamn walls and shit. Walk through walls, you might as well do anything, right? They working the night away. Murray tells her she can go home, he got this. Then they get some camera footage outside the club. Turns out that the fire started, this guy caused the mayhem. So where's he now? He's in the hospital. Basically, he ain't trying to snitch, but then Izzy gets it out of him. Basically saying, if you don't snitch, we can't find the antidote because this stuff will kill you. He doesn't say who's doing it, but he gives us some leads. Meanwhile, Casey's gang lined up ready to do business. Sniffing his own product, superpowers, and all that shit. So the cops' leads caught up to this guy. They ended up chasing him in a quickie mart, and they got him. These kids try to get niggas hooked on this stuff, but my man's like, fuck that shit, I ain't dealing with it. He don't do drugs, or superhero drugs, or whatever the fuck it is. They both try to get him to talk, but he ain't saying nothing. He ain't no snitch. You thought you get him to talk because you cool and suave and all that shit? He ain't talking for nobody. So they did an investigation, found out about the dude named Chanter. Apparently he was the first guy in the first beginning of the movie. The one that got kidnapped and was in the lab. Apparently he was in Casey's lab. But they don't know about that just yet. Then all of a sudden a loud bang went off. The loud bang went off at the police station. Apparently somebody else has powers to blind people. So now Moreau's going through the precinct. Then he caught somebody else that was blinded. What the heck happened? Then they grabbed Izzy and damn near blind her. Oh no, they got the Izzy. He's trying to get around to her. She's falling. Oh no, he missed her. What the fuck? Don't tell me Izzy's dead. No, she's not dead because she's floating. Holy shit. And this is where we found out Moreau's got superpowers. Apparently he can make things float or drop it straight to the ground. Apparently everybody else is still blind, but somehow she lost the blindness and now she can see again. I don't even understand how that shit took place. This nigga looking like, what the fuck just happened? So then we get a flashback again to when he met the Pack Force, and apparently he's had this power for a while. Yeah. So anyway, he done saved their life and now they're getting closer. Meanwhile, this nigga about to get killed because they think he snitched. But even though they knew he didn't, he murked this nigga anyway. Here we go, a homegirl trying to meet up with Alex again. And if you ain't know by now, she was the third member of the Pack Force. He's like, man, I don't know where them niggas at. Then she sees a vision of them getting drugs and dying. So they about to sniff the stuff, but it was too much for them. Even my man was like, yo, what the fuck? And them niggas drop dead. Done deal and all that shit. Dude gets away, talk about they gotta review the dosage. Then a lady comes in the precinct, says her daughter's missing. The daughter just happened to be Lily. Maury breaks into her house looking for information, and he finds out about a place where them niggas about to meet up. Izzy's heading there too, but Shorty seeing into the future again, and she sees Izzy getting killed in the elevator. So while all the shit about to go down, they end up capturing Maury. By the way, this nigga was only talking to Lily only to get her kidnapped. Now you see both of them together because she alerted Izzy about the danger. Then they put him in the back of the van, they about to dip out. But this nigga, even unconscious, is pushing the weight down on the fucking van. It literally sinks down to the point they can't drive it. And that's when they spring into action. While that's going on, this motherfucker shoots Maury 3 times, like, oh shit. Then they roll out thinking Maury dead as shit. Now I'm not sure if Nikki's removing the bullets or Maury's removing them himself, but bottom line is the bullets are coming out of his fucking chest. Exactly, Izzy. What in all of these? Well, anyway, Izzy tries to nurse him back to health, and then they tell us the backstory. So basically, when the Pack Force found out about his powers, he wanted to keep it under wraps, and they helped him join the police force. On a mission, him and Giga Man were on a rooftop trying to capture this one guy. But since Maury didn't have control of his powers, Giga Man was like the one to want to catch him. He's like, hey, put the gun down, all that good stuff. He's like, get the fuck away from me. While that's going down, Maury's in the background. He's picking up some type of metal object. Ends up launching it towards the dude. The dude shoots, but his arm get whacked away. The bullet misses Giga Man, but then hits a high voltage tank. Caused a big ass explosion on the rooftop. Giga Man fell off the rooftop and landed on a car and died. And Maury's been blaming himself for it ever since. And that's why he never uses his powers like that. So that's the backstory for you. Apparently she dug through his pockets and they had a note on him, which led to this psychiatrist. So what's her connection in all this? But when he asks her to get a glass of water, he slips a microphone under her lamp. So they can basically hear all the conversations she's having with clients or anybody in that room. Izzy finds out about this one doctor she used to work with, but he terminated her. Something about malpractice, I'm not exactly sure. But these doctors work specifically on superpowers and stuff. Meanwhile, Izzy got captured and she was chasing him, and then we finally get somewhere. We hear a conversation with this therapist that's talking to the dude Chase. They overhear the conversation and now they know who the guy is. So apparently she's been the one supplying the people to him. Alright, so here's the thing about Chase. The reason he's selling this superhero drug is because he's trying to figure out which ones are defective or not. Because honestly, this guy's dying. He needs somebody else to be powerful, their life force to drain into him so he can live longer. Basically, he's killing niggas so he can live longer. And he's forcing the doctor to make it happen. Apparently they say he was in a nut house before this and he ended up killing both of his parents. Man, this nigga wild. Maury's still rusting up, he ain't moved a bit. Izzy needs you, she got love for you. Then after she leaves, his arm starts moving again. Now they know where the lab is, time to get these niggas. The Pack Force is back, they giving niggas the business. You already know what time it was. This bastard's trying to run away with Lily, what's he doing? But then who shows up out the blue? It's Maury, he's back in business. And the only real fight is Izzy's this Asian kid. That's the only fight without the superpowers, cause they human. But she kicked his ass and gave him the whiffling. This nigga a superhero junkie. He want that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff all in his nose. Shooting laser beams out his eyes and shit. Then this motherfucker goes into overload after Izzy rescues Lily. Maury grabs this motherfucker, just bursts into the air. Bunch of electricity flying out and all that. And then Chase just explodes in midair. But where the heck is Maury at? There he is, still alive, still ticking. Yeah, go get your mans. Back at the hospital taking care of Lily. And by the way, Lily was so important because that was Giga Man's daughter. Yeah, we found that out later on. So the boss is pissed off, he ain't know about Maury's powers, but he still assigns her to the Lazy Young group. The Pack Force General or some shit like that. Then they all gather around and watch the superhero countdown. Whoever made the top 10 list or some shit like that. Then she made a match just for him because he wanted to be a superhero. Apparently the city wanted to name him Titan, even if they don't know who he is. But it's like, enough of that, give me the luscious, it's time for you to get the business. And he gave her that with the mask on. Then we get this cutscene where Lily's back home and she's drawing what kind of superhero she wants to be. And that's it really, there you go. How I Became a Superhero on Netflix. Check it out. Like, subscribe, do all that. You know what time it is. Look easy, mister. See you again. Big. You got that slogan.